volume, Francesca? Can I have some volume? Everyone, please, please. It's no volume. Please be seated. Please be seated. Please be seated. Hey. All right, thank you. If everyone could please be seated. Can I have some more volume? Volume? A little bit more volume. That's as high as it goes. If everyone could please be seated in the chambers. If everyone could please be seated. Okay. Would like to call the meeting of the Wayne County Commission to order. Roll call, please.
Call. You have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item, please.
Invocation.
Our invocation today will be introduced by Vice Chair Pro Tem Jewel Ware.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Our invocator really needs no introduction. I kind of missed him, and I know you all did too. So we called him and asked him would he come today for invocation. Darcel Brown. Thank you, Darcel.
You're welcome. Hebrews 4:16 reads, "Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need." Let us pray. Lord, I thank you for these commissioners who have answered the call to serve the residents of Wayne County. We ask that during today's deliberations, that you provide them with guidance and wisdom to make the best decisions for the people of this region. Allow the decisions decreed here to improve the lives of those who live in Wayne County and the generations to come. Throughout this year, provide the commissioners with the strength to overcome obstacles, give them boldness in the midst of adversity, and give them courage to lead. God, we say a special prayer for Commission staffer Octavia Hunter and her family. Uphold each family member with your strength and give them peace as only you can. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Darcel. Thank you. Next item, please.
Reading, correcting, and approval of the journal.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware.
Move approval.
Vice Chair. Supported? Okay. Moved and supported. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
Report from the chair.
Today, I would like to introduce to all of us the new CFO for Wayne County, Mr. Huey Newsome. Mr. Newsome has a great deal of background as the CFO for Flint and for Pontiac, and he's here to introduce himself to all of us today. Welcome, Mr. Newsome.
You turned it off.
There you go.
There we go. Thank you very much for having me. I look forward to working with everybody on the commission staff. I look forward to meeting all of you and working with you all to make Wayne County even stronger and even better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, and we welcome you, and I'm sure everyone will have an opportunity to meet with him individually as the days go forward. But thank you for coming to the meeting today. Next item, please.
Unfinished business. There is none listed. We are moving to offering of all petitions, ordinances, resolutions, and presentations.
We'd like to start with number 2, please.
Item number 2 is a resolution by Commissioner Bell proclaiming January 2020 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month.
Thank you. As many of you know, unfortunately, human trafficking is an issue that is plaguing all of us throughout this country, but unfortunately, even more so here in Michigan and in Southeast Michigan. There is a movement that I think we all need to be a part of to make aware of this issue for our residents. They can recognize it when they see it and help those who are victims of it and prosecute those who are the perpetrator of it. So January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and I ask that we unanimously approve this resolution, and I'd like to move it for approval. Moved and supported. Is there discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware.
May the board be open for co-sponsors?
Absolutely. Please let us know when the board is open for co-sponsors.
The board is now open for co-sponsors. Co-sponsors duly noted.
Thank you. Item number 3.
Item number 3 is a resolution by Commissioners Baker McCormick and Ware saluting a century of achievements by Zeta Phi Beta sorority.
Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to move approval for this resolution in support of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. This is a 100-year-old organization that was founded by 5 members at Howard University, and it's a service-oriented organization. We provide assistance and services to young and old. I've been a member for over 30 years, and we are again celebrating 100 years. And our newest member, Commissioner Jewel Ware, just want to congratulate her as well.
Thank you. I support the resolution.
All right.
Thank you.
Moved by Monique Baker McCormick, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware. And I'll just say, a few years ago, during Black History Month, we recognized the contributions of the Black Greek Letter Organization, also known as Divine Nine. Many accomplished members throughout history are members of these various Black Greek organizations, so we're happy to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Zeta Phi Beta with their service and sisterhood for over 100 years. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, it's okay to open the board for
Oh,
co-sponsors?
definitely.
Okay. All right, let us know when the board is open for co-sponsors.
The board is now open for co-sponsors. Co-sponsors duly noted.
Thank you. Next item, please.
We will return to item number 1, introduction by Commissioner Anderson of Anthony Lucas for a presentation honoring the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.
On this past Monday, we celebrated the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He influenced people from around the world, and his peaceful approach to some of society's biggest problems. As we all know, he was the leader of America's civil rights movement who organized marches, peaceful protests throughout the country. His involvement was pivotal in the Montgomery bus boycott, the Memphis sanitation strike, and of course, the world-famous March on Washington, where he gave the I Have a Dream speech, which many of us know that speech was first done here in Detroit. Some of my favorite quotes from Dr. King are, "An injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy." As we continue to celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we are in for a treat today. And at this time, I would turn it over to Commissioner Glenn Anderson.
Madam Chair? Madam Chair?
Yes.
We get a lot of reverb from your mic here. It might be, if somebody could adjust your mic just a tad.
Turn it down a bit.
Please.
Okay, turn my mic down a little bit, and if all commissioners can turn their mics off, that would help. Commissioner Scott, Commissioner Haydos. Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chairman Bell. It's an honor for me this morning to be able to welcome and introduce Mr. Anthony Lucas to the Commission today to help us honor the memory of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Mr. Lucas is an award-winning actor who has been acting professionally in the Detroit area for over 40 years. He's worked at the Detroit Repertory Theater, the Plowshares Theater, Wayne State University, and the Old Attic Theater. Anthony has also been performing at the Henry Ford Greenfield Village for almost 20 years, where he enjoys performing historical presentations and meeting people from all over the world. He always considers it an honor to portray Dr. King through his powerful speeches, and I'm excited that he's able to join us today and provide a performance for us. Everyone, please welcome me in welcoming Anthony Lucas today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. What a pleasure and an honor to be with you today, and always to celebrate such a great legacy, such a great devoted life. Of all the things that Dr. King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., accomplished in life, he wanted to be remembered for the simple things in life, how he treated people, and did he serve God in a pleasing manner. Dr. King was often heard saying, "Before I was a civil rights activist, I was a minister. My father was a minister, and my grandfather was a minister." And at just 27 years old, Dr. King was catapulted to the head of the civil rights movement. I'll be doing several excerpts from some of Dr. King's most famous speeches. The first one is Dr. King reflecting on what it was like in the early days of the civil rights movement and how the pressure, what it was like living every day under the threat of death. And one day, after finishing school, I was called to a little church in Montgomery, Alabama. And I started preaching there. Things were going well. It was a marvelous experience. And then one day, a few years earlier, a lady by the name of Rosa Parks decided she wasn't going to take it any longer. And she stayed in her bus seat. You may not remember it now. It was way back now, several years ago. But it was the beginning of a movement where 50,000 black men and women refused absolutely to ride the city buses. And we walked together for 381 days. We stuck together. We sent out a call and no Negro rode the buses. It was one of the most amazing things I had ever seen in my life. But then, after the white folks of Montgomery knew that we meant business, they started doing some nasty things. They started making nasty telephone calls. And it came to a point that some days more than 40 calls came in threatening my life and the life of my family and the life of my children. I took it for a while in a strong manner, but I never will forget one day. It was very late. It was around midnight. And you can have some strange experiences at midnight. I came home and immediately the telephone started ringing. On the other end was an ugly voice. The voice said to me in substance, "We're tired of your mess now. If you aren't out of town in 3 days, we're going to blow your brains out and blow up your house." I had heard these things before, but for some reason that night it got to me. And I decided to go down to the kitchen to get a cup of coffee, thinking that coffee would give me a little relief. And as I sat there, I pulled back on the theology and the philosophy that I had just studied at the university, trying to come up with a reason for the existence of sin and evil in the world, but the answer didn't quite come there. And as I sat there, I thought about a beautiful little daughter that had just been born about a month earlier. We have 4 children now, but we only had one then. And she was the darling of my life. And I thought about the fact that she could be taken away from me. And I thought about a beautiful, dedicated, devoted, and loving wife, and how she could be taken away from me, or I could be taken away from her. And I got to a point that I couldn't take it any longer. I was frustrated, bewildered. And something said to me, "You can't call on Daddy now. He's over in Atlanta, 175 miles away. You can't even call on Mama now. You got to call on that something that your daddy used to tell you about. That power that can make a way out of no way." And it seemed that at that moment religion had become real to me. And I had to find God for myself. And I bowed down over that cup of coffee and I prayed a prayer, and I prayed out loud. I said, "Lord, I'm down here trying to do what's right. I think I'm right. I think the cause of what we're fighting for is right. But I must confess, Lord, that I'm weak now and I'm faltering and I'm losing my courage." And it seemed that at that moment something said to me, "Martin Luther, stand up for justice, stand up for righteousness, stand up for truth, and lo, I will be with you even till the end of the world." And I tell you, I seen the lightning flash, and I heard the thunders roar, and I saw the sin breakers dashing, trying to conquer my soul. But I heard the voice of Jesus saying, "Still, fight on, fight on." And I don't mind telling you that sometimes I feel discouraged. Living every day under extensive criticism, especially from other Negroes, I feel discouraged sometimes. Living every day under the threat of death, I feel discouraged sometimes. But then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. God bless you. This next excerpt is from Dr. King's most famous speech, I Have a Dream. It was delivered on August 28th, 1963, at the Lincoln Memorial. I am happy to join everyone today in what will go down in history as one of the greatest demonstrations for freedom in the history of our nation. 80 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand signed the Emancipation Proclamation. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the Negro is still crippled by the manacles of segregation and discrimination. I am not unmindful that some of you have come here out of excessive trials and tribulations. Some of you have come here fresh from narrow jail cells. Some of you have come here from places where your quest for freedom has left you staggered by the storms of persecution and police brutality. Continue on in the knowledge that unearned suffering is redemptive. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. And so I say to you today that even though we must struggle with the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. And I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And I have a dream. And I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream. And I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and every mountain shall be made low, and the crooked places shall be made straight, and the rough places shall be smooth, and the glory of God shall be revealed for all flesh to see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I take back to the South. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of a mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to stand up for freedom together, to go to jail together, to pray together, that one day, we all will be free. That will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America's to become a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring. Let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightened Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous peaks of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. When we let freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every city and every state, we will be able to move closer to that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Catholics, Protestants, will be able to join hands together and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. And finally, in April of 1968, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was in Memphis, Tennessee on behalf of the sanitation worker. It is here on April the 3rd of that year, he would deliver his final speech. It's entitled, I See the Promised Land. And I'm delighted to see each of you here tonight. There's something happening here tonight. There's something happening in our world. And the world is all messed up. The nation is sick. Are responding. Something is happening here today. The masses of people are rising up. And wherever they are assembled, whether they are assembled in Johannesburg, South Africa, Nairobi, Kenya, New York City, Atlanta, Georgia, Jackson, Mississippi, or Memphis, Tennessee, the cry is always the same. We want to be free. And that's all this whole thing is about. We aren't engaged in any negative arguments with anybody and in any negative protest. We are determined to be people. We are saying that we are God's children and we shouldn't have to live the way that we are forced to live. We aren't going to let any mace stop us. We aren't going to let any dog stop us. We aren't going to let any fire hoses stop us. We go before the dog singing, Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We go before the fire hoses singing this little light of mine. And we go to the jailhouse singing, we shall overcome. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop, and I don't mind. Like anybody, and I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up on the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. And I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land, and I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Thank you, and God bless.
Wasn't that amazing? We want to thank Mr. Lucas for that. We must never forget, I think that's the takeaway from, we must never forget all of those people who sacrificed and gave their lives in the 1950s, 40s, 60s for equality. So we are so thankful that Mr. Lucas shared his talents with us today. For those who would like to see more of him, he'll be performing at the Henry Ford during Black History Month in February, and he has a full schedule. He's an absolute wonderful impersonation of Dr. King, and I think it was uplifting for all of us. So I'm going to go for like a 3-minute recess. If there's anyone who'd like to take a picture with Mr. Lucas, we'll do that real quickly. If you want to do groups in front of the flag, I'll give 3 minutes. So if they're going to do groups of 3 or 4 to take pictures with Mr. Lucas. So 2-minute recess. Isn't it? It's so spot on. Okay. All commissioners, if you could come to the front of the room, we'll take a picture of Mr. Lucas. All commissioners to the front, and we'll take a picture with Mr. Lucas.
All right, everybody squeeze in there. All right, we got everybody. Give me a look. Couple more. Good. Thank you.
Okay. Recess over. All right, okay. Thank you again, Mr. Lucas. Thank you, Commissioner Anderson, for bringing Mr. Lucas to us today, as he's not listening to us. Thank you, Commissioner Anderson, for bringing Mr. Lucas to us today. We appreciate it. Next item, please.
We are on page 2 of the agenda, reports from committees. Report A is from the Committee on Health and Human Services. There are 5 items listed on pages 2 and 3 of the agenda.
Commissioner Kleen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Items 1 and 2, we're moving for receive and filing. Items 3, 4, and 5, we move for approval.
It's been moved and supported. I'll just say on item number 2, Mr. David Brooks was only here for a short time, but he did a wonderful, wonderful job in that department, and he will be missed. And I hope that we'll have a replacement for him in the very near future. Commissioner Kleen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to comment on that as well. Hopefully, we won't change the name of that department for a while now. The board positions for the Health Choice Board are actually named. They're specific slots. And the head of Health, Human, and Veteran Services is one of those slots. So this is also informing people that he's leaving the county. But I wanted my colleagues to also be aware that in not too distant past, the number 2 in that department, Brian Manning, was moved upstairs. So as of right now, we have 2 slots to fill in that department, the top 2 leadership positions, just so people are aware. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any additional discussion on the Health and Human Services report? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
We are on Report B from the Committee on Public Services. There are 18 items listed on pages 3 through 7 of the agenda.
Commissioner Marecki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to receive and file items 1 through 5 and move approval for items 6 through 18. And Commissioner Dodd would like to be the maker of the motion on 16.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the report? Commissioner Webb?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. Is there anybody here from the maintenance side of the house on roads? Anybody here from the maintenance side of the house on roads? Well, anyway, then I guess I have to ask the question to the administration, DPS. Oh, okay, we have Bev Watts here. We have the main gal. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we have the receive and file item number 2 on the township paving program. And I would love to see the breakdown, like a 2019. There's no breakdown. I have and something that Redford Township has been asking the department for a really long time is how much it costs to do everything. Because like when they submit projects to roads, they can better gauge what they can even ask to have done based on knowing the cost of it. So if they have a $500,000 to work with, they can say, you know, with that $500,000, it costs X amount to replace roads, X amount to mill and fill, X amount to seal cracks, and we can get the best bang for the buck in the township based on knowing what those costs are. It's been 2 years.
Yes.
Haven't got a breakdown on what anything costs.
Beverly, Director of DPS. Thank you for your comments, and I agree with you. That information would be good for all our township, for the Township Initiative Program. As you know, we work closely with Redford Township, Mike Dennis, so we will follow up because we just recently met with him. And I know our roads guys are meeting with him when we sit down and go over which roads are on their needs list, which roads are on our needs list, and then we go through that and give them the breakdown. So we will contact Mr. Dennis and find out where the communication is breaking down internally.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, because that's just, and I'm asking you this on his behalf, frankly, because he's the one that's been asking for this for so long. And, you know, they've been doing a great job out there. We don't have any complaints about the work that they're doing. We just want to be able to they want to just be able to better manage the money. And, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to plan when you don't have any idea what.
And it's really odd, because we just spoke with Mr. Dennis even this past, for the weekend, and even last week for the snow. So he's constantly in communication with Steve Shea, our deputy of roads. So it's really bizarre.
And he doesn't
But
have
I'll
any
find out
yeah,
why
he
he's
doesn't have
telling you
any-
something and tell us something different.
Well, I've been copied on several emails to this effect, and unless he got this information in the last week or two, which he may have, and I haven't spoke to him.
Well, he wouldn't have, because we haven't finalized our maintenance plan for the season.
Okay, so alls I would ask is, this is 2019, this is last year.
Right.
I know that they have done some work last year in the township. There's nothing on the sheet that says what you did or what it costs. So if I could get, see, this is the report right now for 2019. It just lists the amounts, and it's not just in Redford, but in all of them.
But I think you're referring to a different report, so it wouldn't be there, but what we'll do is make sure you get the information you're requesting, because that document there wouldn't show the actual breakdown. But we have that information, and we'll give it to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you.
I would greatly appreciate that.
No problem.
Thank you, and I'm sure that any commissioner here that has a township could benefit from that information, so I don't only speak on my behalf.
Absolutely, because we provided you that similar information in 2018.
Right, you did.
Yeah.
So if we could get that for 2019, that would be great. And then, like I say, I'm sure if they're working with their own townships, and I've had, when I used to be the chair of this committee, I've had some of their people
Well,
contact
actually,
me.
it's 3 townships that we absorbed the funding, as you know, Radford Township, Sumter,
Yeah.
and Northville. The
Yeah.
other townships, they manage their own projects.
Right.
And we just give them the funding, and they
Right.
just invoice us for it. So they will
Okay.
have their own breakdown, because they're hiring their own contractors.
And they would know the cost of things, so they would be able to
Absolutely.
do it. So I would
Absolutely.
only need it then probably for the 3.
For the 3.
That would be
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Any further discussion? Further discussion on the Public Services Report? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Next item.
We are on Report C from the Committee on Audit. There is one item listed.
Commissioner Basham?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like at this time for just a quick second to acknowledge the Auditor General and her staff. Again, 26.7 million in efficiencies, 94% implementing the recommendations of the Audit Committee. We got a great Auditor General and staff that are working for this commission, and I'd just like to acknowledge them. So at this point, I have one item to receive and file. Thank you. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on that item? I'll echo your comments to our Auditor General. They do a fine job, especially with the number of persons that are in their office. So we want to thank you for doing a wonderful job and keeping us saving money and looking for efficiencies here in the county. So thank you for that. Commissioner Killeen.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I've been on audit all 13 years that I've been here. When I first got here, there were 18 people in the Auditor General's office. When I looked at the report, the first thing I do is count. We have 10 in that office today, and 2 of those are part-time. So essentially, in a decade or so, the staffing of that office has been cut in half, and I think that's a real serious issue. It's an essential oversight function that the commission does in getting to all of the departments. We don't have the staffing now to adequately fulfill the charter requirements of what the Auditor General should be doing. So I think that's something we should really be serious looking at and getting more people into that office. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And as you know, Commissioner, we've been looking to get people in that office for a long time. Unfortunately, the people who graduate from college these days are going to the private sector more so than the public sector, and it's such a hard time. So we're looking at the salary adjustments and things that we can lure people to public sector. So thank you for that comment. Commissioner Webb?
Thank you, and thank you for the comment you just made about the salary adjustments, because that's what it's going to take to get them. So I just wanted to thank Marcy and her team. I've been on audit for the 11 years that I've been here, and you guys have done a phenomenal job, and it's just been such a great pleasure to work with you all, and you know, even to the executive side, to the different departments that you've worked with, and how they've responded through your correction action plans. And, you know, you're just making the county more efficient and more effective and financially and helping us prevent some liabilities along the way. And, you know, especially with the constant transition that we've had, so many changes in leadership. You know, it's almost like what term limits did to the state legislature. You got staffers knowing more than the elected officials because they're changing all the time. And you guys have been such a strong foundation, been there, and having done all these audits on all the departments, that when you sit down with these new people that come in and out of these departments, you know, you're really able to help them optimize their performance and their position and tackle some of these challenges. So I really think your impact on the county to the taxpayers is invaluable, and I hope to see you get funded the way you need to be able to hire the people you need to hire to keep doing what you're doing. So thank you for your service. I appreciate it a great deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments on the audit report? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Next item, please.
We are on Report D from the Committee on Public Safety, Judiciary, and Homeland Security. There are 3 items listed on pages 7 and 8 of the agenda.
Commissioner Clark Holman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move items 1 through 3 for approval.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the public safety report?
Just glad to see that funding is still coming in for the prosecutor for the sexual assault kits. I'm just really happy to see that that continues.
Yes, absolutely.
We've got another $303,000.
So much time and effort has been done for this, and we're so happy with the results, and they need as much funding as they can certainly get to continue the great work. So Tony, tell Kim that we're thankful for what she's doing and what she continues to do to be a light, as a matter of fact, throughout the country on this issue. She's very knowledgeable on this throughout the country. So thank you for what you're doing there. Commissioner Clark Coleman. Thank you.
And also, you know, she deserves a lot of credit for going out and getting these grants. You know, she personally goes out and seeks monies and grants for this program. So she ought to be commended for the work that she does.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any further discussion on public safety report? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Next item.
We are on Report E from the Committee on Government Operations. There are 9 items listed on pages 8 through 10 of the agenda.
Commissioner Webb.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want, item number 1 has to be a receive and file. I'm moving to receive and file as amended. I want to thank the HR Director, Steve Malin, for providing the additional information we asked regarding the succession plan. So that one would be receive and file as amended. Items 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, and, no, just 2 and 3 are also receive and files. And then items 4 through 9 for approval.
There's support? Support. Any discussion? Commissioner Basham.
I'll be a no on the retroactive contract number 5.
Duly noted. Any further discussion on the report? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
We are on page 11 of the agenda, upcoming committee and task force meetings.
Please note the meetings for next week and There is a Criminal Justice Task Force meeting on today at 12, so note that as well. If there are any changes, please alert the clerk. Next item.
Public comments.
Is there anyone from the public? Do you have any cards?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You have 2 minutes.
Jim Dwight.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and my District 7 Commissioner,
Good morning.
members of the commission. My name is Jim Dwight. I'm on the board of the Rosedale Park Improvement Association, and I work with Detroit Eviction Defense. While working with a woman, Michelle Burrell, to try to save her home, I got to thinking about the audit for the 2017 right of refusal project, where 72 properties were sold at a discount to 5 developers and 1 artist. And I want to thank Commissioner Bell for giving me a copy of that audit this morning. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My question today is there an audit for the 2018 Action Before Auction program? Is there an audit for that completed? And if so, may I have a copy of that?
Okay, Mr. Dwight, I'll respond to you after the meeting, okay? I'll get the information and find out for you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Commissioners.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down today. We appreciate you. Anyone else like to address the Wayne County? I'm sorry, you have another card?
Yes.
Okay.
Joe McGuire.
Good morning. My name's Joe McGuire. I'm also with Detroit Eviction Defense. Jim mentioned Michelle Burrell earlier. She's a woman who lives on 11327 Warwick in Detroit. She was renting her house, or perhaps had some kind of purchase agreement with the owner for a few years, lives there with her children. And unbeknownst to her, her landlord let the house go into tax foreclosure. She had no idea, in fact, continued to pay her landlord monthly payments months and months after the house had actually been foreclosed on. The house got bought by Wayne County through the Action Before Auction program and then sold to a company called Realty Transition, LLC, which operated out of Taylor, Michigan. Realty Transition got the property for, I believe, about $5,400, and the property is probably worth market value over $20,000. If you Google Realty Transition, the articles that pop up are that the owner recently was indicted by federal prosecutors for corruption charges out of Taylor. He got properties from the Taylor city government in exchange for doing favors and giving gifts to the mayor of Taylor. That's what he's accused of. What I'm coming to you for is, despite all this, despite the fact that the Action Before Auction program has since been discontinued by the Wayne County Land Bank, and despite the fact that an audit has come out, one audit has come out showing many, many problems, some of which directly bear on Michelle Burrell's situation, Michelle Burrell is still facing eviction from Realty Transitions. She is currently in a lawsuit with Realty Transition and the Wayne County Land Bank. And so what I'm asking the commission to do, and the individual commissioners and anyone else who wants to help, is to try to put pressure on the Wayne County Land Bank and Realty Transitions to make a deal with Michelle Burrell, because that was what this program was supposed to do. It's supposed to facilitate deals and find some solution that can keep her and her children in her home. I have information here if anyone wants it about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next card.
Patrick Driscoll.
Good morning. My name is Pat Driscoll. I'm a retired steelworker from U.S. Steel and a longtime resident of Detroit. I'm also with Detroit Eviction Defense and here to support what the two prior people have said in support of Ms. Burrell. I mean, we know we've had problems with the Action Before Auction program, and we've seen that, and people have actually made settlements that have gotten their property back. and we think you should examine this case, and particularly look at the audit. The audit that came out points out that one of the key deficiencies was around controlling the eligibility, people who were eligible, making sure they knew about it, and there was it admits that the land bank failed to keep many records, and that there were deficiencies both on the land bank's part. And transitions, Realty Transitions was singled out as dumping on quite a few of its properties even before some of its requirements were made, aside from along with other issues. But the point being is that there's enough knowledge, I think, in this room about the inadequacies of the program that this should be examined and resolved in the favor of Ms. Burrell and her family. So I'd like your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional cards?
No additional cards.
Anyone else like to address the Wayne County Commission? Please come to the podium. Anyone else would like to address the Wayne County Commission? Okay, thank you. Next item.
New business, there is none listed. We're moving to testimonial resolutions and certificates of appreciation. There are 12 items listed on pages 11 through 13 of the agenda.
Move approval.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Discussion. Well, we have a very special discussion under testimonies and resolutions. As many of you know, especially those who have served on the Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Kevin Haney is retiring. And that's going to be a loss of so much institutional knowledge. Kevin, stand up. Not even stand up, Kevin. Come on up, Kevin. Come on up. Over the years, we've loved Kevin, we've hated Kevin, but we've always respected Kevin and what he had to do and what he needed to do in his position. It's very, very unfortunate when we lose someone with such knowledge who knows where all the bodies are buried, but we are going to wish him well on his future endeavors, and hopefully he'll still be consulted to us as we move forward. I know Kelly, I don't know if she's here, there she is, will be his replacement, has already started as his replacement as budget director, but we are just so thankful for you, Kevin, and all that you've done to help us with the budget over all these years, and so thankful that we have a special resolution tribute for you, so you'll never forget us. You may want to forget us, but he'll never forget us. So I'll read just a little bit of it, because I'm not going to read the whole thing. Honoring Kevin Haney, retiring following years of distinguished service to Wayne County, whereas with great pride and pleasure that we, the members of the Wayne County Commission, pause to recognize and bestow due honor upon Kevin Haney, whose 16 years in financial management for Wayne County will forever be appreciated and respected. Whereas Kenny Haney is the loving father of 3 precious daughters, his wife Patty, and proud grandparent of 7 beautiful grandchildren. Therefore, be it resolved this 23rd day, January 2020, this resolution will be spread upon the length of today's proceedings. Congratulations, Kevin. Thank you for your service to Wayne County. Words?
Thank you very much.
Want a word or two?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, one of my last secrets that have just been found out by the commission is that I never read the agenda for the full board. So I was kind of surprised when I was called down here, but I want to thank each and every one of the commissioners that I've had to deal with over the number of years, the staff that, especially the staff, the budget staff, and the management and budget staff that have basically made me look better than I really am. And I want to appreciate you, everything you guys have done for me, and thank you very much for this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Basham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to take a little credit for a couple of Kevin's gray hairs. And I'm really impressed with you, Madam Chair, that when you told Kevin to stand up, he actually listened to you. Thank you.
I am too. Thank you. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you. I think the other members of Ways and Means especially will understand this, but I'm sure many others will, that I just wanted to confirm with Kevin. understand you and Dwayne Seals have a vacation plan somewhere or something. You guys are. Thanks.
Financial people run together, it appears. Commissioner Webb.
Thank you, Kevin. I just want to say I really appreciate all the, I've been here for 11 of your 16 years, and every year when I do my newsletter, I go into all of the expenses, and I'm on the phone with Kevin throughout that whole time, and I know I'm a pain in your backside, but you've been great, and I appreciate you always giving me the information that I needed to do that. And, you have enormous shoes to fill. I just, enormous. So I wish Kelly all the best in doing that. But yeah, your absence is going to be felt in a major way. So I wish, but you know what? You probably earned every one of them gray hairs while you were here at the county. So, go enjoy your life and all your kids and your beautiful grandkids. And, that's what I would do. I would go on that vacation and stay there. Take care. It's not going to be with Dwayne. Not with Dwayne. No, with kids and the grandkids.
Commissioner Varga.
Thank you. Kevin, I really have enjoyed working with you. I know we've had some texts even from the airport as you're leaving for vacation. But I saw you come in and I'm watching you leave, and this is worse having you leave than when you first came in. So good luck to you, and I look forward to hearing that you're enjoying life. Thank you.
Commissioner Palomero, then Commissioner Haydes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did chair Ways and Means for a couple terms, Kevin, and you were responsive to me before I chaired Ways and Means and after I chaired Ways and Means. You treated everybody with dignity and respect, and you didn't always give the answers that we wanted to hear, but you were a straight shooter on every single answer you gave. And the way you've conducted yourself, I think speaks volumes by having one of your former bosses come today to watch your retirement ceremony in the back. Former CFO Tony Saunders is here to come say hello, and I'm sure wish you well. Congratulations, you deserve a happy retirement.
Thank you.
Commissioner Haydes.
I enjoy your relationship with all the commissioner and your straightforward answer. Even when you say no, we receive it with a smile sometime. And I was one of them too. I have a big wish list for my district, but in general, I felt you did a fantastic job in finance and relationship with the commissioner and the staff, and we will miss you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware.
Kevin, I just want to thank you for your service and say a job well done. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, let's give Kevin another round of applause. Thank you, Kevin. If you don't mind. All right, thank you, Kevin. And I just asked him if he could stay for a few minutes. We're almost at the end of the agenda for a group picture. All right, next item, please. Did we vote on this? Oh, need to vote. Okay. Let's please vote.
Yeah.
We need Varga. Commissioner Scott. Vote, please.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
We remain on page 13 of the agenda, memoriams. There are 6 names listed.
Thank you. Again, we want to give our sincere condolences to Octavia. Her father died suddenly, Mr. Charles Westbrook, so we want to keep her and her family in our prayers as she goes through this difficult time. Commissioner Marecki.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like you all to know that number 5, Robert Erpolding, is former Commissioner Laura Cox's father. So.
Oh.
And his funeral home is tonight and tomorrow, his funeral.
Okay, thank you. Didn't know that. Commissioner Baidoon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to add a person who passed away this past week on behalf of Commissioner El Haydous and myself. I'd like to add Haji Suad Muhammad Ali Zain Faraj Bazi. She was a mother, a grandmother, and a wife, and she passed on after a brief illness. We extend our condolences to her family and to my friend Sam Bazi. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, if everyone in the chambers could please stand for a moment of silence. Oh. Thank you. Next item, please.
Reconsiderations.
Are there any reconsiderations? Hearing none. Next item.
Remarks by members.
Remarks by members. Commissioner Basham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Without getting into specifics, I would very much be interested, if my colleagues would be interested in favor of maybe even a resolution for the item brought before us under open business. If that makes sense, I can get into more detail if you want, but basically talking to Land Bank without getting into it. So
Let's work on something with Felicia and
Yes.
some
Thank you.
resolution. Okay.
I won't, okay.
Gotcha.
And then the other thing is, Madam Chair, if Jacob Arp could stand up, I'd like to introduce him. He's my grandson.
Oh,
And
hi,
he shadowed me for
grandson.
today. Thank you.
Welcome to the Wayne County Commission meeting. You have a great grandpa. Thank you. The good looks for your grandma. Commissioner Hayter said that, not me. Commissioner Webb?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have just a quick comment. I would just like to encourage the Auditor General to do an audit on action before auction. You know, we only do audits every 2 years, and on each department, that's per the charter. So it hasn't even been 2 years. The audit that was done on the right to refusal program was because it was 2 years ago. You know, it was the year prior. So the time hasn't passed really to do that audit. So I just would recommend that in the future, whenever, if ever, their schedule allows, that they do that. I think the findings of the first audit are enough to encourage or provoke the second one. So that's just the only suggestion that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to once again thank everyone for their comments about Mr. Anthony Lucas's performance this morning. I was very moved by it once again. I've seen him a couple times and heard him, and I was very moved again. I had a little bit of a discussion in my office with him about just putting ourselves in the place of Martin Luther King and what that must have been like with small children and the threats to his family and himself. I think we can all understand threats and handle threats to ourselves, but to think about your children and your wife and I think at that time he was only in his 30s, and that is just amazing how strong of a soul he had. But I did want to let everyone know I'll pass along information about some upcoming things that he's going to be at, that I'll put them together in your mailbox. And also, please contact my office if you need his contact information and you'd like to have him come at an event. He's a remarkable person. I mean, just to get to know him, he's a very decent person and a very nice and accommodating person. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. See another hand? No? Tentatively put on your schedules a cow, February 13th. That's a Thursday, so just tentatively put that on your schedule. And it'll probably be a lengthy one, so we'll have something formal to go out in the next few days. 10 o'clock. But it'll be confirmed within the next few days. Any further remarks by members? Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, you did a resolution on human trafficking, but there is a group in Grosse Pointe that I worked with while I was in the legislature. And just yesterday, I was going through a lot of my archives, and I have a real thick package on human trafficking that I worked with them. And so I don't know what you plan to do, but that is a great group, and if you'd like my notes and
Please.
stuff.
Yes, please share that. Thank you for that, Commissioner, because there's another group in Oakland County I know, they're called SOAP, S-O-A-P. And I really want them to come speak to us as well. They help during the auto shows and the Woodward Cruise when there's a lot of people in town, and they put a number of help on the soap in the motels in the area. So there's a lot of efforts going on. I would like for us as a body to do something together on this issue. I haven't thought it through yet, but I think it's such an important issue, and I think we need to be at the forefront of working on this issue, since all of us represent the entirety of Wayne County, to do something on this. So stay tuned to something, but I'd love to have your notes with
Doing
that.
10, 15 years ago. So
Absolutely,
I
right,
guess
right. So the fight
still
continues.
doing that.
The fight
That is
continues.
the Zontas of Grosse Pointe.
Zontas. Thank you for that. Commissioner Webb?
Thanks, and to that point, and I really appreciate your interest in that, because I think we're number 5 in the country because we have the international border, and one of the single worst nights for human trafficking is the opening night of the auto show. I love the SOAP program. I've written checks to support that too. It's an excellent idea that they have. So just want to give you another resource. Former State Senator Judy Emmons and Livonia's City Council Chair, who worked for her, Laura Toy, worked on the human trafficking stuff for probably 4 or 5 years. And I've been to places where they've brought, Teresa Flores wrote a book about it. She was a victim of it. And I've been to many of those discussions, panels, where they brought women out that were victims of human trafficking. And, just some heart-wrenching stories. And these are all people in the Detroit metropolitan area, so it's happening all around us right now, and how they were helped. And they have a ton of resources that throughout Wayne County even that would be, they can make available. You could work with them. They would just be a great resource for you to put something comprehensive together on something we could do here in Wayne County to fight human trafficking. So
Absolutely.
really appreciate your interest in that.
Yeah, it's grown, but the good thing is more people are becoming more aware of it, because people are talking about it now more so than they were 5, 10, 13 years ago, which is a great thing, but we have to continue to talk about it, so. Okay, hearing no other comments, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All right, thank you, meeting adjourned. And please come up front, take a picture with Kevin Haney. Thank you.